Pope Leo XIII, born Vincenzo Gioacchino Raffaele Luigi Pecci, 2 March 1810 to 20 July 1903, to an Italian comital family. Reigned as Pope from the 20th of February 1878 to his death in 1903. He was the oldest pope, and had the third longest pontificate, behind that of Pius IX and John Paul II. He is the most recent pontiff to date to take the pontifical name of Leo upon being elected to the pontificate. He is well known for his intellectualism, the development of social teachings with his famous papal encyclical Rerum, novarum, and his attempts to define the position of the Catholic Church with regard to modern thinking. He influenced Roman Catholic Mariology and promoted both the Rosary and the Scapula. Leo XIII issued a record of 11 papal encyclicals on the Rosary, earning him the title as the Rosary Pope. In addition, he approved 2 new Marian scapulas and was the first pope to fully embrace the concept of Mary as mediatrix. He was the first pope to never have held any control over the papal states, after they were dissolved by 1870. He died on the 20th of July 1903 at the age of 93 and was briefly buried in the grottos of St. Peter's Basilica before his remains were later transferred to the Basilica of St. John Lateran. Early life. Born in Carpeneta Romano, near Rome, he was the 6th of the 7 sons of Count Ludovico Pecci and his wife Anna Prosperi Buzzi. His brothers included Giuseppe and Giovanni Battista Pecci. Until 1818 he lived at home with his family, in which religion counted as the highest grace on earth, as through her, salvation can be earned for all eternity. Together with his brother Giuseppe, he studied in the Jesuit college in Viterbo, where he stayed until 1824. He enjoyed the Latin language and was known to write his own Latin poems at the age of 11. In 1824 he and his older brother Giuseppe were called to Rome, where the mother was dying. Count Pecci wanted his children near him after the loss of his wife, and so they stayed with him in Rome, attending the Jesuit Collegium Romanum. In 1828, Giuseppe entered the Jesuit order, while Vincenzo decided in favor of secular clergy. He studied at the Accademia dei Nobili, mainly diplomacy and law. In 1834 he gave a student presentation, attended by several cardinals, on papal judgments. For his presentation he received awards for academic excellence, and gained the attention of Vatican officials. Cardinal Secretary of State Luigi Lambrusciani introduced him to Vatican congregations. During a cholera epidemic in Rome he ably assisted Cardinal Sala in his duties as overseer of all the city hospitals. Pope Gregory XVI appointed Pecci on the 14th of February 1837 as personal prelate, even before he was ordained priest on the 31st of December 1837, by the Vicar of Rome, Cardinal Carlo Odescalchi. He celebrated his first Mass together with his priest brother Giuseppe. He received his doctorate in theology in 1836 and doctorates of civil and canon law in Rome also. Provincial administrator. Shortly thereafter, Gregory XVI appointed Pecci as legate to Benevento, the smallest of papal provinces. Benevento included about 20,000 people. The main problems facing Pecci were a decaying local economy, insecurity because of widespread bandits, and pervasive mafia structures, who often were allied with aristocratic families. Pecci arrested the most powerful aristocrat in Benevento, and his troops captured others, who were either killed or imprisoned by him. With the public order restored, he turned to the economy and a reform of the tax system to stimulate trade with neighboring provinces. Monsignor Pecci was first destined for Spoleto, a province with 100,000, but on the 17th of July 1841, he was sent to Perugia with 200,000 inhabitants. His immediate concern was to prepare the province for a papal visitation in the same year. Pope Gregory XVI visited hospitals and educational institutions for several days, asking for advice and listing questions. The fight against corruption continued in Perugia, where Pecci himself investigated several incidents. When it was claimed that a bakery was selling bread below the prescribed pound weight, he personally went there, had all bread weighed, and confiscated it if below legal weight. The confiscated bread was distributed to the poor. Nuncio to Belgium. In 1843, Pecci, only 33 years old, was appointed Apostolic Nuncio to Belgium, a position which guaranteed the Cardinal's hat after completion of the tour. On the 27th of April 1843, Pope Gregory XVI appointed Pecci Archbishop and asked his Cardinal Secretary of State Lambruschini to consecrate him. Pecci developed excellent relations with the royal family and used the location to visit neighboring Germany, where he was particularly interested in the resumed construction of the Cologne Cathedral. Upon his initiative, a Belgian college in Rome was opened in 1844, where 102 years later, in 1946, Pope John Paul II would begin his Roman studies. He spent several weeks in England with Bishop Nicholas Wiseman, carefully reviewing the condition of the Catholic Church in that country. In Belgium, the school question was then sharply debated between the Catholic majority and the liberal minority. Pecci encouraged the struggle for Catholic schools, yet he was able to win the goodwill of the court, not only of the pious Queen Louise, but also of King Leopold I, strongly liberal in his views. The new nuncio succeeded in uniting the Catholics. Archbishop of Perugia, papal assistant. Pecci was named papal assistant in 1843. He first achieved note as a popular and successful Archbishop of Perugia from 1846 to 1877, after Pope Pius IX granted unlimited freedom for the press in the Papal States in 1847. Pecci, who had been highly popular in the first years of his episcopate, became the object of attacks in the media and at his residence. In 1848, revolutionary movements developed throughout Western Europe, including France, Germany and Italy. Austrian, French and Spanish troops reversed the revolutionary gains, but at a price for Pecci and the Catholic Church, who could not regain the former popularity. Provincial Council. Pecci called the Provincial Council to reform the religious life in his dioceses. He invested in enlarging the seminary for future priests and in hiring new and prominent professors, preferably Thomists. He called on his brother Giuseppe Pecci, a noted Thomist scholar, to resign his professorship in Rome and teach in Perugia instead. His own residence was next to the seminary, which facilitated his daily contacts with the students. Charitable activities. Pecci developed several activities in support of Catholic charities. He founded homes for homeless boys and girls and for elderly women. Throughout his dioceses he opened branches of a bank, Monte di Pietà, which focused on low-income people and provided low-interest loans. He created soup kitchens, which were run by the Capuchins. In the consistory of the 19th of December 1853, he was elevated to the College of Cardinals as Cardinal Priest of S. Crisogano. In light of continuing earthquakes and floods, he donated all resources for festivities to the victims. Much of the public attention turned on the conflict between the Papal States and Italian nationalism, aiming at these states' annihilation so as to achieve the unification of Italy. Defensive the papacy. Pecci defended the papacy and its claims. When Italian authorities expropriated convents and monasteries of Catholic orders, turning them into administration and military buildings, Cardinal Pecci protested but acted moderately. When the Italian state took over Catholic schools, Pecci, fearing for his theological seminary, simply added all secular topics from other schools and opened the seminary to non-theologians. The new government, in addition to the expropriations, levied taxes on the church and issued legislation according to which all episcopal or papal utterances were to be approved by the government before the publication. Organizing the First Vatican Council, Pope Pius IX announced an ecumenical council, which became known as the First Vatican Council, to take place in the Vatican on 8 December 1869. Pecci was likely to be well informed, since his brother Giuseppe had been named by the Pope to help prepare this event. In his last years in Perugia, Pecci several times addressed the role of the Church in modern society. Pecci defined the Church as the mother of material civilization, because the Church upholds human dignity of working people, opposes the excesses of industrialization, and has developed large-scale charities for the needy. In August 1877, on the death of Cardinal Filippo de Angelis, Pope Pius IX appointed him Camulengard, so that he was obliged to reside in Rome. Papal conclave. Pope Pius IX died on the 7th of February 1878, and during his closing years the liberal press had often insinuated that the Italian government should take a hand in the conclave and occupy the Vatican. However, the Russo-Turkish War and the sudden death of Victor Emmanuel II distracted the attention of the government. In the conclave, the questions that the cardinals faced varied, and issues discussed included church-state relations in Europe, specifically with Italy, divisions in the Church, and the status of the First Vatican Council. It was also debated that the conclave be moved somewhere else, but it was Pecci that debated otherwise, and the conclave assembled in Rome on the 18th of February 1878. Cardinal Pecci was elected on the third ballot of the conclave, and he chose the name of Leo XIII. He was announced to the people and later crowned on the 3rd of March 1878.